Yeah, hello everyone. So, firstly, I need to mention one thing that whatever 60 odd videos that are there in this playlist of business analyst preparation, all of these videos were created by me almost 2 years or more than 2 years back. At that point of time, I had limited exposure to multiple projects in tech companies, and based on that, I have prepared those videos and I have put it on the YouTube. And I feel glad to say that it seems to have helped a lot of people. A couple of them have already reached out to me on TopMate and LinkedIn after going through the videos, and they have informed me about how it really helped and all. I'm really happy about it. From now onwards, what I'm going to do is this whatever I have learned additionally in the last couple of years, and on top of it, whatever I'm learning right now in the process of my work, I want to use that and come up with next set of videos which will be adding a lot more value than the previous ones. So this is one of those first videos, and I really earnestly hope that it really would be helping you guys a lot. And of course, use the comment section or reach out to me through the multiple options available to let me know if there is anything on top of what I've covered which you would like to really know about or which you want me to discuss about. I'm really open to any such ideas. Okay, so one of the first videos I want to create was about interview preparation because I feel that this is very important. And the specific video that you're seeing right now is about interview preparation, which is irrespective of what role. It could be business analyst role or a product owner or a technical role, non-technical testing, in a tech company, outside tech company, any industry, any region, there are a few set of things that you need to know which will help you a lot in your interview preparation. Okay, so I wanted to cover those generic concepts, and that is what I've tried to do in this particular video. Okay, so let's get into the details. The very first thing is that you need to understand when you're preparing for an interview is what if you were the interviewer? So, let's say that you have got a call for an interview saying that in the next 3 to 4 days you have this interview being scheduled in a particular company with so and so person. First thing that you need to do is you need to see who is this person, and then you need to think about what if you were in that person's role, which means imagine you are the person who is going to ask questions in the interview in order to finalize one candidate for the job. What are the things that you'll focus on? This is very important because what happens when you think from the other person's angle is you will understand what is their focus area. So their focus area could be about, getting the best person possible, getting the person who can work very well in a team of 10 people, getting a person who has this learning ability, getting a person who knows the skill very much, highly knowledgeable, very much certified, etc., etc. So they have some, few key points which they want to maintain as a checklist, and they want to check if every person whom they are interviewing has these points or not, right? So that is very important. You need to think from the interviewer's perspective so that you can understand what is important for this role and then prepare according to it. That's point number one. Second thing is, what's the designation of the interviewer? Why is this important? I'll tell you with an example. Let's take the business analyst interview itself. So, if you have received a call for an interview and you get to know the person who is going to ask questions in the interview is a senior business analyst, okay, and this person has asked you a question, uh, tell me about use case diagrams, a very generic question. Okay, now since the person asking the question is a senior BA, he knows in and out about every possible thing about use case diagrams, so you can go in depth. You can talk about the components of use case diagram, primary actor, secondary actor, system, includes, excludes, precondition, postcondition, everything. You can talk about it and you can tell about how you used it in your previous projects, no problem. But if the same question is asked by a project manager, which means you went to an interview, the person who is interviewing you is a project manager, then what happens is you should not go into details because a project manager may not know the components of use case diagram in detail and all. Rather, his focus will be like, okay, I'm hiring a BA. BA should know these basic things so that it will help in closing this particular project duration as soon as possible. or ensuring the clarity of requirements as much as possible, right? So your answer should be on those lines. You should not go into components of use case. Rather, you should give a very business sense related question, saying that if I attend a stakeholder meeting, if I'm getting requirements from them, I'll create a draft version of a use case diagram. I'll use it in the next meeting with a slide, and I'll try to refine it further so that the requirements become more and more clear. And only when those are clear and getting approved, that is when we'll go with the documentation getting finalized and then take it to the technical team. So maybe this is what you should put it. And let's say that you're facing an interview at a startup for a BA role itself. In startups, what happen? Usually the employee strength will be lesser. So what happens is there'll be few people, and you might actually be facing interview from one of the senior management person, maybe a delivery manager, maybe an account manager, maybe a person who is directly reporting to the CXOs, right? Now, if that person is asking you a question, again, you should keep it even more generic and which will be also assuring enough that you will be able to manage the work very well, right? So, focus on who the person is who is taking the interview, and based on that, fine tune your answer and answer according to it. That's one thing. The next thing is, what if you don't know the answer? High probability, no matter whichever interview you go, there is a high probability that there can be at least a couple of questions which you don't know the answer of. It's very much possible. So in that case, what do you do? First thing which you must not do is do not bluff. Do not at all try to make answer then and there in the air. It is not going to help you because the interviewer would have already seen 10 to 15 people on the same day whom he would have asked the same question. So he knows how the answer will be if the person knows the answer, and how the answer will be if the person who is attending the interview doesn't know the points at all. So do not bluff. So does it mean that you should openly accept that you don't know? Answer is you should accept that you don't know, but you should not stop at that. See, for example, as I said, if you are the interviewer, if you are asking questions, what will you expect? You expect the person to know the answer. If the person doesn't know, at least he'll tell you that I don't know the answer, but you know what? I can really learn in a very short span of time, and I can deliver it within short span of time because so and so I have done like this back in my previous project. Or, if you're a fresher, you can say back in my studies, this is what I've done. It is very important. So what I'm trying to tell you is, if you don't know the answer, say that this is something which is out of scope of what work I've done. So I don't have enough exposure to this particular concept, but I'm confident that if I'm supposed to work on something like this, I will be able to learn about it within a very short span of time through some self-learning or by learning from people who have already worked on it. I'll reach out to other people who can really help me out in my network, in my circle, and get to know this, and I'll be able to implement it as soon as possible. Why? Because I have done something like this in my previous project wherein I did not know this particular thing, maybe a RACI matrix, maybe some BPM and diagram, something which you didn't know, but still you learned it and you delivered it. Give an example so that it creates the confidence to the interviewer that you will be able to you know work it out. You will be able to manage it out even though you don't know right now. Okay, that can be a better approach. The next thing is how to avoid from being asked too many questions. This can seem like a clever tactic, or it can seem like a manipulation, but the point is pretty straightforward, that whenever you attend an interview, you will be informed prior that the interview is for 15 minutes or 20 minutes or half an hour, 40 minutes, whatever it is, you will be informed the duration. So now you need to think that if the duration is, say, for example, 20 minutes, roughly how many questions can be asked? And when you're facing the interview, when you're being asked the questions, you will also be able to gauge, is this person really going to make it very tough for me, or is it like something which is manageable? So at that point of time, if you know that, the first few questions usually will be generic questions, so see if you can elaborate a little more on those over and above what you would usually answer. How do you do that? Whenever you're asked a concept, don't just explain the concept and leave it. For example, if you're asked what is a user story, you can just say it is having a template as a I want, so that followed by acceptance criteria close. You can say that and stop within 10 to 15 seconds. Or you can give an example of one particular user story. Or you can explain it, you can give an example, and you can talk about how did you use it in one of your very recent projects, taking a very good example. When you do this, what happens is the answer which you could have completed within say 20 seconds, you almost take 1 minute or 1.5 minutes to answer that. So when you do that for multiple questions, you sort of, fill up that interview duration that is given. And by doing that, you are reducing the scope of being asked too many questions. And when you reduce the scope of being asked too many questions, you are reducing the scope of being asked tough questions also. Okay, so note that, keep it in your mind that usually the initial questions will be easy, then you get into details, then the questions can get a little tough. So initial questions, if you can elaborate a little bit, do that. And when you're doing it, don't overdo it. Means, stretching an answer too much, that is again not a good thing. So when you are answering, also look at the person whom you're responding to. See if the person is really attentive enough to what you're answering. If the person is looking into some rereading your resume, or looking into the mobile, or looking into the screen of a desktop or laptop, it means that this person is not attentive enough. So you need to reduce the duration of your answer. Look at the person, understand, and if they're receptive enough of lengthy responses from you, then go for it. Okay, don't overdo it, but try to elaborate wherever possible so that you can reduce the number of questions asked. Next thing is, how quickly should you answer when you know the answer? Again, this is a sort of important point. One misconception people have is that, if I know the answer, I have to respond within the next microsecond. No, you should not do it. You should not be in a hurry. Take a couple of seconds and then answer. In these couple of seconds, what you should actually do is you need to frame, you need to structure your response, and then, start responding. Why is it important? Because it helps you to think properly about the answer that you're going to give, and then you'll be, opening your mouth. That is very important. Or else what happens is you might end up giving the answer in a haphazard manner, which is not really presenting you in a good picture. Let's say that you're asked a question like, what is a major challenge that you faced in your previous project? Now, if you want to answer the very next moment, you will think about the recent most challenge and you'll talk about it. But if you take few more seconds, you might actually think of a bigger challenge that you faced, which is going to be a stronger supporting point for you to talk about as a challenge that you faced. So give yourself the time to form an efficient answer and then tell it out. Okay, that will really add a lot of value to your interview. Okay, so these are the points which I wanted to mention, and I'm really you know looking forward to seeing more and more people receiving this particular points. And I will really be happy if it is adding a value in your life and helping you in your interviews. It'll be very good. And again, whatever I'm sharing here are all my opinions. So a couple of these things could be answered in a better way or in a different way. Of course, there is no one suit fits all approach. Okay, so there could be some XYZ person giving a much better response in a much bigger way. Possible. What I have answered is based on what interviews I have faced, and I have faced a lot of interviews. In my overall work experience, I've already crossed more than 5 companies. In a particular company where I was working in a service-based company, I faced multiple client interviews for different clients. So there are interviews which I faced within the company. There are some companies I got through campus placements. There are some companies which I got through for onshore opportunities. So I've faced a variety of those things. So what I'm telling is based on this particular experience. If anyone has better points, do share it in comments, and definitely we'll try to see if there is anything else to be added. I'll definitely try to come up with the next set of videos as soon as possible and keep sharing. And if anyone wants to reach out to me, there's one particular option that you can use, or you can search for my name on LinkedIn. You'll definitely find me out there. And yeah, all the best in your preparation, and let's meet in the next video. Thanks everyone.